Strolling through the park, watching winter turn to spring. Oh, I'm walking in the dark, seeing lovers do their thing. Whoa, baby, that's the time. Feel like making love to you. That's the time. I feel like making dreams come true. When I'm touching you and my feelings start to show. Oh, girl, I'm holding you. Really want you to know. Whoa, baby, that's the time. I feel like making love to you. That's the time. I feel like making dreams come true. Restaurant, holding hands by candlelight. Girl, I'm holding you, wanting you with all my might. Oh, baby, that's the time. Feel like making love, love to you. That's the time.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this 2-year anniversary to discuss the pandemic and the way forward as we head into spring term and the rest of the semester going into the summer. I just want to acknowledge first and foremost is that this is 2 years to the day when we had to make one of the most significant and one of arguably the most difficult decisions to date, and that was to suspend our face-to-face operations of the college. I know at the time when that decision was made, some folks thought we were acting too quickly. I don't think anyone in retrospect would say that now. But also I'd like to say that I'm so proud of each and every one of us for our ability to lean in, to quickly adapt and adjust and stay focused on our students. And these are just a few headlines that really reflect what we have done as a college to help support our students, help support our community, and to continue the focus on our mission. Also, I want to talk a little bit about just a few other highlights over the past 2 years. So to date, we have about 89% of our employees are vaccinated. We have received from the HERF funds, and that's the Higher Education Relief Funds, over $75 million. And I'm so proud of our folks in financial aid and the business office, the registrar, and so many others who worked very quickly when we received the first tranche of the monies to get it out to our students in a matter of days. Very few colleges, if any, were able to turn that money around that quickly and get it out to our students. And so I just want to say hats off to our team for staying focused on their students and really trying to help support their success. We had folks, pulling together laptops and getting them out to the students who really needed those, and so many more things. Also, when you look at testing and so much, we've done so much to support the community around free tests that happened right here at the West Campus and throughout the county. Also, we've been part of distributing tests to our campus employees, and we, as you all know, we also became a site for vaccinations, and so we were able to help facilitate the vaccination of hundreds of thousands of individuals in our community and at the college. Again, we have so much to be thankful for, so much to be proud of, and I couldn't say it any better that I am just so proud of each and every one of you. The level of resilience that each and every one of us have demonstrated over the last 2 years is remarkable. To be able to stay focused on our mission, stay focused on serving our students, maintaining a positive growth mindset focused on today and into the future, I think are very exemplary. What I'd like to do next is ask Dr. Garcia to join us. As you know, Dr. Garcia serves as the Pima County Deputy County Administrator and Chief Medical Officer. And I've asked if he could join us to kind of talk about where the state of play today and where things are going to be heading as we go forward over the future. So I guess I'm just receiving a note now that Dr. Garcia is being delayed just a little bit, I hope. So I'm going to go to the chat and see if there's any questions that I might be able to answer at this point.
Questions in chat yet, but we have a few from previous to the chat. We can start there, and if people get some in chat, please go ahead and input your stuff into chat. We'll start with the vaccine mandate. What is the college going to be doing with the vaccine mandate rolling forward?
The college, the board had put in place that we began to stay in compliance with the federal law. And as the President of the United States, through an executive order, had essentially required all federal contractors, which Pima is one, to ensure that all of our employees were vaccinated. Not too long after that, as many of you are aware, legal challenges followed. And as a result of those legal challenges, the college had decided to suspend its enforcement of the vaccine mandate. That issue is still remaining. It's still with the courts, and until we get further direction from the federal government, we will continue to remain in this holding pattern as it relates to the vaccine mandates. But again, I just want to bring back to the point that 89% of our employees are vaccinated. And so we have achieved a lot. And I would still encourage those of you who have not been vaccinated, please consider getting vaccinated. It is our single best way to ensure our protection against this virus. And as things seem to be waning now, doesn't mean that the virus or other mutations of the virus will necessarily go away. So let's keep that in mind. So Brian, another question?
Yes, we have several questions arising.
Can't hear you, Brian.
Oh. Yes, we have several questions coming up around the mask mandate. Will we be keeping those, or will they be changing, keeping in the classroom?
Well, a great question about the mask mandates. As you all know, like all of the three universities, Maricopa, and many of the other colleges and universities had put in place a mask mandate, and so Pima also followed suit. As you all know, as things have been shifting for the positive, we're hearing on a regular basis announcements that organizations even within our community announcing that they are starting to step back from their current mask mandates and relaxing those requirements. I just saw an announcement that the city is doing that. The county had made an announcement not too long ago. NAU has made a similar announcement, TUSD. And so after this meeting, the vaccine mandate, pandemic advisory group will be meeting. I'll look forward to receiving their recommendation, and then I will be taking that recommendation and then have a discussion with the board chair. So the process has been that if you recall, go back to the early part of when the pandemic occurred, the board passed a resolution that gave me the authority to make the decision about anything related to the pandemic. And so out of that came obviously the establishment of the pandemic advisory group, but also that I would consult with the board chair before making any final decision. So I'm be looking forward to hearing from the vaccine mandate, the pandemic advisory group later today. And then based on that, I'll have the conversation with the board chair. And so a decision could come as early as tomorrow. And so please stay tuned as we weigh through this. Remember, as I've always said, the college will follow the science, and that, the key markers for that are the CDC and our local Pima County Health Department. And so, we're going to continue to stay focused on our health and welfare of college employees, our students, and the community members who come in contact with us. But again, all in alignment with what the science is leading us to and the directions from the CDC and our local Pima County Health Department help us to make those informed decisions. Brian?
Yes. We have several questions regarding returning to work and working remotely. Do we have some policies that we are looking at in that area?
Great question. Returning to work. Well, first of all, we've been working. So it's not a question of returning to work. We've been working day one of this pandemic. So I want to clarify that. Another thing that's also important to keep in mind, the college has always had a work from home policy of some sort. Not a very well-developed, robust policy, but the college had allowed employees to work from home. Now, because of the pandemic, many of us began to work remotely. Now, I also, want to also thank the employees who, because of the nature of their work, they've been on site day one. The folks in facilities, the folks in the police department, some of our other college personnel who had to come on site to help distribute laptops, make sure the technology was working appropriately, and so many others had been on site. So I don't want to lose that as part of my response. But also, I think we have to keep in mind, right? We're here in service to students. And as a result of that, there are many positions at the college who play a key role in the front lines of interacting with their students. And we need to balance that piece with the ability to allow flexibility to work remotely. So we're in the process now of developing a more robust work-from-home policy. And I just outlined some key considerations as we move through that. You're going to see more flexibility to work from home, but not everybody's position lends itself to having that level of flexibility. And so I encourage you to work with your managers, your supervisors, to determine what's best for the position you hold at the college. And I know some folks might say, well, that's not fair. Well, but remember, we employ each and every one of us to fulfill a role at the college. And it's your position that dictates what is fair, not just the concept of what is fair. And because we also have to remember, we're in service to our students and to our community. And there are many students who will need to come on site, who will need to be in classrooms, and that's why we're here. And so we will balance all of that as we go forward. So I just got word that Dr. Garcia is with us now. So Dr. Garcia, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us here at Pima Community College to provide us with the latest of what's going on with the pandemic, and if you could also talk about the recent decision that the county administrator made to allow for changing of the masking mandate for indoor facilities with some exceptions. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Chancellor Lambert. Always a pleasure to support our Pima Community College. You guys have been a really important and critical partner throughout this pandemic and throughout everything that we do within the community. I'm going to share with you a little bit of how far we've come, because it really is quite the story, right? Be aware that for us here in the county, this crisis, this pandemic started January 26, 2019. When we recognized that there was a first confirmed case of coronavirus in Maricopa County, and when we recognized that this was the first day of the jump show, and we knew that something important was going to happen. At that point, with the county administrator's permission, we activated the virtual emergency operations center and started to get ready for what at first didn't seem like a big deal, but which ultimately has ended up consuming now more than 2 years of our activity. Since that time, we have had over 250,000 cases here in Pima County. If you think about that, that's a pretty staggering number in terms of the number of cases that has been experienced by this jurisdiction of just over 1 million people, and 3,663 deaths. In fact, COVID is such an important contributor and a cause of death in so many cases that it really ranks among our top 5 causes of death across the county. So it is a really interesting place that we've come from, and an interesting position that we're in with regards to how far that has happened. One of the things that I'm really super proud of is that we were able to very quickly mount a very aggressive testing and screening campaign, and this was done by the county investing its own resources long before the federal government was putting resources in our hands to build the capacity to do the kind of testing that was needed in this county. And that's really critical. And for that reason, we have been among the most screened counties in the country. And Pima Community College has been a critical component of that. On multiple occasions, Pima Community College, the Chancellor and the campus leaders have stepped up to the plate and have allowed us to place our assets on your campuses to make them available, not just for Pima community college students and staff and faculty, but to the greater public. And for that, I myself and the acting county administrator are deeply, deeply thankful because that partnership has been really important and really critical. The other piece that I will share with you, and whether it's testing or vaccine sites that we've been able to locate, that's part of the reason why we are currently among the most vaccinated counties in the state of Arizona. Currently, we've delivered 1.79 million vaccines to Pima County residents. And in fact, if you are a resident of Pima County, 72% of our population who is of vaccine eligible age, that is 5 years of age or older, is now currently vaccinated. That is better than the United States. That is better than the state of Arizona, and that is better than many countries. So I believe that we've been able to achieve that because we have some wonderful partners who've allowed us to really get this accomplished. One of the pieces that still needs to continue to work, one of the pieces that we still need to continue to be focused on, however, is our boosting vaccination program. Please understand that it is super clear now that even though a full course of vaccination, that is your 2 doses of Pfizer, Moderna, or your single dose of J&J, even though that is very protective, and will keep you from being hospitalized and largely keep you from dying. The full measure of protection is not obtained until you have been boosted. And so I urge all of you who are booster eligible, that is, who completed your original vaccine series, to please plan on getting boosted, if not now, in the near future. At this point, only 45.6% of the age eligible population has been boosted in Pima County. And for me, that is really a source of anxiety and a source of concern. Those are the folks who are ending up in hospitals. Those are the folks who are ending up in ICU. Rather, the unvaccinated folks are the ones that are ending up in hospitals and ICU. And if we can get that booster into your body, the likelihood that you will die from COVID, the likelihood that you will need to be intubated from COVID drops drastically. And so I really urge those of you who are still on the fence or who still are thinking about it to please do so now. I make this appeal as I review our latest vaccination numbers, and I'm noting that things are starting to slow down, except for our very youngest age groups. So I'm hoping that that will be something that happens. The Chancellor asked me also to comment on the recent actions of the board and the county administrator, the acting county administrator, in terms of our COVID mitigation steps. Please understand that we are now at a point where we are having fewer than 100 cases per 100,000. We have dropped into the medium level of risk as per the new Centers for Disease Control guidelines. This means that our hospitals are not being overly stressed. I'll give you a really quick and good example. Up until about 3 weeks ago, about 40 to 50% of our ICU beds were being taken up by individuals who had COVID infection. Those were the people who were occupying our most serious intensive care units, our most serious hospital settings. I checked on that last night, and we're down to 10% of our ICU occupancy now is COVID related. Again, this is a testament to the fact that we have been able to accomplish such a high degree of vaccine coverage in this community over a relatively short period of time. For that reason, the Board of Supervisors has relaxed its masking requirements and has let its emergency actions expire. In concordance with that, the county administrator has taken actions to liberalize our mitigation requirements across the county in our buildings and in our assets. One of the things that has not changed, however, is the issue of vaccination. And we will continue, Pima County will continue as an employer to require vaccination of all our new employees. And we believe that that is a winning strategy. With that strategy, we've been able to accomplish vaccination in almost 95% of all of our employees. And I believe we are a safer county because of that. I'm going to shut up there, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you. I apologize for the audiovisual difficulties, and I thank, again, Pima Community College for their ongoing partnership and support.
Dr. Garcia, first of all, I just want to say again, thank you so much, and thank you for what you do and what you do for the residents of Pima County, your support of Pima Community College. I mean, the statistics you shared is just phenomenal, right? One of the top county in the state of Arizona for vaccinations, over 1.7 million vaccines administered. I mean, those are phenomenal numbers. And so my hat's off to you, and we're so fortunate that we have you here in our county. So thank you. So if you don't mind, Dr. Garcia, if you're willing to take a question or two.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And so Brian?
Yes, we have a couple of questions for Dr. Garcia. One, if you've already been vaccinated and received the boosts, do you need like the fourth boost or one after that? Is it going to continue?
Brian, an excellent question. And it's a question that we still don't have a definitive answer on. But I will tell you what the state of the science is today. The state of the science is that for immune competent individuals, that is people whose immune system is working well, that is, I don't have HIV, I don't have an immunosuppressing condition like lupus, for instance, or rheumatoid arthritis, I'm not taking steroids, things that might affect my immune system. For an immune competent individual, getting your full 2 doses of vaccine plus your booster should be more than enough to protect you. If you are immune compromised, if you are an individual whose immune system is not working for whatever reason, maybe because you have breast cancer and you're undergoing chemotherapy, a second booster is actually in order. And that is something that is an additional measure of protection that you should be availing yourselves. The question should be, what does the future hold for us in terms of boosting? What I can tell you is that I fully anticipate that we will be required to boost. We will be recommending that we undergo boosting on an annual basis at this point. And we're still not there yet in terms of where the science is, but I believe that that is exactly where we're headed.
Talk about what that means and the significance of that, please.
Chancellor Lambert, I've missed the first part of the question.
So as we're moving from the pandemic, and there's a lot of conversations that it's now moving into this endemic phase, can you talk about what that means and the significance of that?
Yes, sir. So I apologize. So just to sort of just to give you the context that when we talk about endemicity, we talk about an infection being existing in a population at relatively low levels over a very, very long period of time. And that is the situation that we probably are looking at with regards to coronavirus. Not unlike what we see with the flu, right? There's a seasonality to it that is something that always seems to recur, and it is something that we need to sort of be prepared for. One of the things that we think is really critical as we move into this endemicity is to make sure that we have incorporated the best habits that we've developed during the pandemic. One of the success stories in terms of our workplace culture and our culture is the ability to stay home, to keep people home when they are sick. I got to tell you that as a doctor, there were many days when I went to the clinic, when I went to the hospital, and I wasn't completely well. that is no longer acceptable. That is no longer appropriate. Whether you're a physician, whether you are a professor in the classroom, whether you are support staff, whether you're a student, that is no longer acceptable. We need to make sure that our culture changes to reflect that. The other piece that I will tell you is that as we have smaller and smaller numbers of cases, when we contact you, when we reach out to you because we believe that you may have been a close contact, it becomes really critical that you take the steps that are necessary to protect yourselves, your family, and your community. And we're going to ask you to test. We're going to ask you to stay home if you're positive, and we're going to ask you to mask regardless for a period of time until you are beyond a certain period of time. So we fully expect that that we need to adapt the messages that we've been promulgating up until now. But this is with us, and we're going to have to figure out how to get through it.
Dr. Garcia, it sounds like you're reinforcing the importance of these good public health measures, and that we should continue to embrace those, continue to use that throughout our daily lives, the hand washing, the social distancing, self-isolate, et cetera. So thank you for reinforcing the importance of that doesn't have to end. Also, thank you for reinforcing the fact that I know for myself, I would go to work sick even if I had the flu because I felt like that was my duty. And that now it's great to hear that the public health community is now able to make the point that you should stay home and it's okay to stay home. And there's no badge of courage from having gone to work because of it. So we have another question, Dr. Garcia, from Brian.
Yes, Dr. Garcia. Will there be tests available, boosters available for school-age children? It's available for other groups, but is that coming up as well?
So remember that boosters are actually available for 12 and over. So for that 12 to 18 year school age, underage population, boosters are actually currently available. You're right. At this point, we don't have a good strategy, and we don't have any real knowledge, any real data upon which to make a firm booster recommendation for that 5 to 11 year age group. So stay tuned. Again, the most important thing you could do is to make sure your kids are vaccinated. Understand that right now, our least vaccinated demographics are in those younger age groups. And so anything that you can do as a parent to encourage your child to be vaccinated, to encourage the children around them to be vaccinated is going to yield dividends in terms of being able to stay in school and in terms of being able to keep the rest of your family healthy. Because maybe your kid is not going to get terribly sick, but it wouldn't be good if he kills off grandmother. And so I think that that's one of the things that it really important for us to sort of keep in the back of our mind. Vaccination is part of a social contract that we have with each other. And this is how we keep each other healthy.
Dr. Garcia, for reinforcing that social contract piece that we have with one another. Brian, you have another question?
Yes, I have a couple for Dr. Garcia, if he has time for a couple more. One of
Sure.
them is related to the J&J vaccine. It's a little different. Is a booster needed for that? How long is it efficacious?
So one of the things that we now understand is that the J&J, even though it does provide some good protection, is probably not sufficient in the longer term in terms of how it compares to Moderna and the Pfizer product. And so in fact, when we tell people to boost who've had a J&J, we're telling them to actually get a Moderna or a Pfizer, and they can choose whichever one you choose to get. The beauty of J&J was that it was a single shot kind of intervention, and that makes it very easy to deploy, right? You don't have to remember when you have to come back for your booster. But it is clear now that the protection will wane. It is clear now that it is not as protective in the long term as with the other two vaccine products that are available in this market.
Brian, do you have another question?
Yes. We have one more question here. What is the future of treatments related to COVID? Do we have any new medications on the horizon, either treatment-wise or on the prevention side with vaccination?
So this is really an exciting area, Brian, that where there has been a lot of positive progress. There are we now have a toolbox full of medications that can be used to treat people who have COVID, who are showing up in our hospitals. We have medications that we can provide to patients who just became positive, are just starting to have symptoms, and to keep them out of the hospital. And we even now have a medication that you are able to take if you are in one of those high-risk groups, an immunosuppressed individual with underlying chronic medical conditions, for whom COVID infection is potentially deadly. We can even give you something that we would administer multiple times a year that would give you an added layer of protection. These things are being rolled out. Right now, supply chains are still fairly tight with regards to some of these new therapeutic interventions. But make no mistake about it, when these are increasingly becoming available. For instance, in our hospitals, we already have a bunch of these things. The question is, how do we put them in pharmacies? How do we put them in doctors and nurses' hands so that people don't have to go to a hospital in order to avail themselves of this kind of an intervention?
So Dr. Garcia, do you have time for one more question?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yes. Big question here for you. What has COVID taught us? What did we learn from all of this? And how are we going to use it? And we're looking at these communicable diseases in the future.
COVID has taught me humility. And I hope it's taught all of us a lesson about how much we depend on each other in order to keep this community safe and healthy. That is, to me, the main lesson of COVID. There's a lot of science also, right? But to me, the more important lesson is that the interdependence that we have on each other for our health and well-being is real and is palpable. And when we don't attend to it, can cause us some real harm. So I hope that as we emerge from the pandemic, one of the things that we can do is take that lesson to other areas within our lives, not just in the healthcare arena, but whether it be in social justice or whatever. We need to acknowledge and honor that interdependence and try to figure out how to be better to each other.
Dr. Garcia, thank you so much for taking your valuable time to join us here at Pima Community College. Again, your partnership with us, your support of the college, and more importantly, what you do for the community is so much appreciated. Thank you so much. Please have a great day.
Thank you.
So I thought I'd say a few closing words before we wrap up here. So we have done so much over the last 9 years since my arrival. I think the college has placed itself in such a great position pre-pandemic. I mean, we had worked hard to really strengthen our online presence. I think the strengthening of our online presence played a pivotal role in which our faculty were able to quickly shift from a face-to-face modality into virtual online modalities because of the work that we had done ahead of time. The work that we had done to repair our relationships with so many different parts of the community, that really paid off when we went out for Proposition 481 and to pass that with just about 70%. It's very rare that you get something, an educational initiative passing at that high percentage. But we did that because all of us working together had done a lot to just really change our image in the community, and that we clearly are, and the community has seen it, that we are here in support of what we do in Pima County, Southern Arizona, and beyond. Also, I just want to acknowledge, because of some of the difficult financial decisions we made pre-pandemic, that also placed us in a wonderful position. It always feels like a positive thing. I can say this for folks who sit in my seat as a chancellor or as a president of a single college district, that you're able to say to your employees, especially during the time of crisis, that we're not going to lay anybody off. I mean, very few organizations have the ability to say that and say that with confidence. And I'm so glad and so proud that we were able to do that. This is just further evidence of our commitment to support the health and well-being of each and every one of you. And I just, again, encourage all of you who have not been vaccinated, please go get vaccinated. Regardless of the decisions we make on masking, that if you want to continue to wear a mask, please feel free to do that. If you're not feeling well, please feel free to stay home. I mean, all of those good public health measures we've learned over the last 2 years, let's continue to apply that as we go into the future. I think we have a bright future ahead of us. Let's continue to stay focused on our mission. Let's continue to really work hard to start bringing the students back to the college. When you think about the percentage of our enrollment losses, a lot of that, I think, has to do with the fact that we weren't offering face-to-face. I won't say that's exclusively the case, because there's a lot of other variables, but as we start to bring back more programming, I'm hoping that will help turn the enrollment tide. And as people might not have realized, as we were getting into 2017, 2018, 2019, just before the pandemic, our enrollment losses had started slowing down and leveling off. So the work we had done to reposition ourselves has paid off, and so let's continue to build on that. I look forward to working with each and every one of you as we continue to look forward and continue to make a positive difference for our community. And I want to just say this in closing: PCC TV, college events, Phil and your team, you do such a phenomenal job of always setting up these opportunities for me and the team to speak to all of us, and so we all owe them an immense thank you. And I know you can't hear the sounds of clapping, but I just want you all to know that we appreciate what each and every one of you have done to allow us to continue to communicate out with everybody at the college. Please, all of you, have a great upcoming spring break, and I'll look forward to seeing you as we go to the second half of the semester. Have a great day.
I used to walk with you along the avenue. Our hearts were carefree and gay. How could I know I'd lose you somewhere along the way? The friends we used to know always smile, hello, no love like our love did say. Then love slipped through our fingers somewhere along the way. I should forget, but with the loneliness of night, I start remembering everything